Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. My name is Million Juice. I am the Vice Guild Master of Garmoth over here on Where Winds Meet, and I am going to be starting a little bit of a guide series to help out some of the new players and new recruits to the guild, kind of get acclimated to the game, avoid some of the pitfalls that I made when I was first starting off, and just kind of like trying to throw you guys a bone, trying to pass off some of the knowledge that I've attained, and yeah, kind of go from there. So if you guys have any thoughts or things that you guys would like to see in future videos, this content is made almost exclusively for the guild members, so go ahead and feel free to either shoot me or one of the other officers a DM, and we would be more than happy to help kind of accommodate that and get that going. Um, and yeah, so without further ado, what I'm going to start off with is we are going to start off with a couple of really basic concepts to the game just to kind of help, once again, you guys avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into and that I'm sure many others did as well during the early days. And that is the gear progression and leveling system. So out the gate, we're going to deal with what I consider to be one of the most um, not necessarily like designed to be a trap, but it ended up being a trap for new players that there is. Um, that would be effectively number one. What do I want to play as? How do I level my gear? And how do I kind of continue to push that power threshold so I can do the content that's either up to date or that I would like to do? First and foremost, to answer the what should I play as, what's beautiful about this game is that there is no, yeah, people are going to tell you, oh, nameless spear, strategic sword, or, twin sword, strat sword, or whatever is meta. Don't listen to them. Meta in this game is so heavily skill based that meta is whatever you feel best playing as. So if that is Umbrella Fan, then be Umbrella Fan. If that's Twin Blade Rope Dart, then be Twin Blade Rope Dart. If that's, Mo Blade, whatever, choose that. Everything has its own. Right now, currently at this point in the game, the only thing that's truly, let's call it class locked, where you don't really have additional combat arts to pair with that weapon other than it's the tank build, is the Mo Blade, and that's going to change pretty soon. The day that I'm recording this, it's currently February 13th, 2026. Uh, the Moblade with the DPS setting is going to be it's going to be hitting global servers here sometime in the next, like, maybe 2.5, 3 months, I'd imagine. Um, so the if you're going to play Moblade, you're locked into a tank. That's not always going to be the case. So if you're watching this video in, like, let's say late May, early June of this year 2026 or beyond, you don't need to worry about that. You'll be just like everybody else. You can really play as whatever playstyle you prefer, whether that be DPS, whether that be tank, whether that be healing. Really, the world is your oyster. Healing is currently also limited to Fan and Umbrella, but those also have DPS components as well. So unlike the Moblade, you're not solely locked into that. So my best advice to you, experiment, especially during the early levels. Nothing really matters much until like around level 40-ish, 40 to 50-ish. That's when all of a sudden the resource cost for upgrading these things starts to get a little bit higher. You might want to start narrowing down as to what playstyle you personally prefer to play as, and then kind of like start to build more in that direction. And by that point, you'll know what you're doing. You'll know sort of what to look out for, what talents to invest in, which will be the next topic that we'll talk about here in just a second, and subsequently how to level those gear items. One little quick caveat on that, because they added this not so long ago, and I personally have found it massively helpful in doing a little bit of catch-up mechanics for some of those earlier builds that I had. Um, so in this game, they have something called a arsenal, which is, where is it? No, wrong button. There we go. Where's the arsenal? I don't remember where the arsenal is. Nope. That is one thing about this game. They have stuff. There it is. They have stuff within stuff within stuff, so it can make things a little bit harder to track down at times. So, this is your arsenal. Your arsenal is basically the compository for all of your old builds and gear. And they don't necessarily contribute to stats like defense or DPS or like evasion or anything. What they do contribute to though is your character's overall max health, which especially as you get towards the current end game stuff, and I'm sure this will be true in future end game stuff as well. The more health that you have, no matter what class or role you're playing as, it can only benefit you. So I would highly advise going through the mechanisms that I'm about to lay out here in just a second to make sure that those numbers are as maxed out as they can be. As you can see, I personally am slacking a little bit, 12,631 out of 16,000, so I still got a little bit of catching up to do before I am capped out myself. And I've been playing since launch, so don't feel, oh my god, I have to like rush. It's not that way at all. It's very much a play at your own pace kind of a thing. There's plenty of content to go through in this game, so you're not going to be short of options, I promise. Um, but yeah, so when you do get that gear set that you really, really like, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to give this up. I don't want to have to melt this down or sell it. Don't. Just throw it into the arsenal system. Starting at 51, you can do that all the way through, whatever level the max level will be at the point in time that you're watching this video. I doubt that they'll get rid of this. The arsenal system also has, if you can see on the bottom left, where that icon that underneath it says Bell Strike and it says switch path. So what this does is it sources through all of these, for references, these are the, let's call it, uh, uh, this is your holy trinity. So this is DPS, this is tank, this is heal, right? And then this is just sort of like a catch-all, all-in-one general utility skill set thing. But this is for those of you who are familiar with MMO systems and the holy trinity of MMO combat, this is your bread and butter. Stone Split is your tank, Silkbind is your healer, Bell Strike is your DPS currently. Now, these categories are going to expand a little bit. We're going to get a couple more DPS options, a couple more healing options, and a couple more tank options. However, what those are going to look like, we don't yet know, but they should retain the same color coordination. So, when in doubt, look at the color. If it's blue, DPS. If it's orange, it's tank. If it's green, it's healing. Generally a good rule of thumb. So that's always helpful. Now, as far as if you're like me and you're like, oh, well, I wish that they would have had this when I was at those levels. I'm way past those. What do I do now, Juice? Well, I got an answer for you, my friend. They introduced a currency system not so long ago through the season shop that allows you to get old gear. Now, it doesn't go far back. Currently, I guess it does go all the way back. So it only used to go to 56, I think. I guess they added these in a recent patch. But you can go through the season shop and using a currency called Jadefish, which you're just going to collect naturally as you go throughout the game, you can then spend that currency on those, let's call it catch-up gear mechanic pieces. So if you felt like you've been left behind, this is a great way to catch up. That you will just accumulate this stuff passively. You are capped at 20,000 fish per week, and it resets every Saturday. However, for my experience, it hasn't necessarily been a challenge. It's only really a challenge if you go into things like the professions, which I'll touch on that in a second as well, because that is kind of important. But otherwise, like if you're just like, hey man, I'm good on that, I just need the catch-up stuff, this is where you're going to want to go. Now, as far as combat development, This is also a great place to get things like custom martial art tips. So in order to level up your weapons, which I'll show here in a second, you're going to need to collect a certain amount of tips that fit under the specific weapon category that you're looking to upgrade. Every weapon, every martial art style has its own martial art tip that you need a certain number of in order to increase your gear level. So this is a great place to get those. There are other ways of getting them that I'll touch on here in a second, but just as kind of like a default option, you get 35 of these a week. So that's 35 freebies just out the door. It's not a bad option. This is also a great place to get both Aciliating Jade and Inner Way Notes. Both of these are massively, 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 massively important. Cannot be understated how important these are to your progression in the game. Aciliating Jade is used to upgrade literally everything. Every armor, every accessory, every weapon piece, everything in this game. If it increases your power scaling, you need Aciliating Jade by the bucket loads. Stack this stuff up. During the early levels especially, you're going to be tempted to spend it. Don't. Do not. Save it until at least level 56. Honestly, by the time that some of you may be watching this video and the level cap has been pushed up above 100, you might want to even wait until probably 65 to 71 before you even think about dumping jade fish into purchasing. Well, before you think about dumping your stockpile of Aciliating Jade that you've accumulated using jade fish, or just kind of generally collecting it as you play the game. Do not get rid of this stuff. You will hate yourself for it if you do. I promise you. I beat my head against a wall enough on your behalf. Don't repeat my mistake. With that being said, we're going to move on to what I consider to be the second most important gear power leveling option in this, and that would be your talents. Talents are, well, your inner ways. Your inner ways are a little bit of a trap, and this is what I mean by that. You'll notice that I have all of these, I have quite a few of these with a number of dots underneath them, right? Well, you'll notice that I have quite a few of them that have the dots underneath them. Every one that you see that has a dot underneath it that I do not currently have equipped, well, with the exception of these two, because well, that's another thing, is a byproduct of a mistake that I made, and it's cost me a lot just in the catch-up time that I've had to make to get some of these things leveled up so I can do some of the basic stuff that I would like to do with my guild members as far as like raids and dungeons and world bosses and just general current end game content. I've probably dumped about 20 to 30 hours just in running various like events and outposts, which are sort of like our dungeons, in order to catch up so I can get the things leveled up that I actually needed leveled up. These things are really hard to come by and really hard to level up, and it only gets harder. So like, show you an example. It takes 10 to get to here, right? Just to open up one, it takes 10. Then it takes 20. Then tier 3, there we go. They're all the same. So tier 3 takes 30. Tier 4 takes 40. Tier 5 takes 100. And then I don't think I have any that are that far yet. Yeah, and then this one right here, I've only seen people do it. I haven't done it myself yet. This takes 1,000. One with 3 zeros after it to be able to upgrade it. So from tier 4 on, as you can see, it starts to get monumentally more expensive. I did not find that out until about, I don't know, 250-ish hours into the game, and I probably spent another 20 to 25 hours just trying to fix my mistake. Don't be me. My recommendation would actually be to stick with Morale Chant. This one is the only one currently that the Chinese players still use, and for context, China is about, like, content-wise, China is probably like, they've had the game for over a year now, a year and a half at this point. It just launched for us in November, so 4 months ago. Um, they're probably about 8 to 10 months ahead of us currently in content. But Morale Chant is still on every build that I've seen of Chinese players. So it's the one, it is truly the only one that is carried over. So currently, if you're a new player and you're like, hey, I don't really know what to invest in, two pieces of advice for you. Number one, do these things one at a time. One of the mistakes that I made is that I tried to kind of like generalize them, which is why you see like I have 85 out of 100 here, 39 out of 100 here. I'm kind of scattered all over the place. Um, do them one at a time. There's a mathematical law. I hate math with a fiery passion, but in this case, it is very helpful. There's a law called the law of large numbers, which basically says that if you throw enough shit at the wall, eventually something's going to stick, right? So if you, in each of these um, breakthrough items, breakthrough tips would be a one for one, right? So if you get a draw, it might just be easier to show you. So you go to Tips Exchange, and then for every 5, you can get 1 tip. Now, you see at the bottom right where it says 3 and how I have to pay 15 of those little of the currency in order to get them. When I do that, it lets me choose from the school that I would like to source the um, martial art from, or the inner way from. Since I am this one in particular, I'm just going to go ahead and grab those. And then boom. Oh, cool. I got a morale chant. And then boom. Right away, I get 3 new tips that then contribute towards it. Well, what you can do if you don't, like, let's say that you got, 40 of these, right? And you're like, all right, well, I only need the one for morale chant. What you can do is you can highlight the ones that you can select the ones that you don't want, and you can recycle them. See at the bottom right where it says recycle gain, and 7 of those currency things. I can then hit confirm, confirm again, and then boom, all of a sudden I have 7 more of those currency options that I can then put back into the tip exchange to get more tips. And that was completely RNG carried, by the way. There was no editing in this. That just happened. um, but yeah, and then what's great, in my opinion, is that, like, let's say that you're like, hey, well, what if I don't want to be locked in to one specific build or playstyle forever? Does that mean that let's say that I want to change something up? Let's say that I'm a DPS now and I want to be a healer or a tank at some point in the future, or I just want to change the talents that I have because to a new DPS setup because, I want to play those weapons or what have you. You're not locked in permanently. You can use the conversion system to allow to change over certain inner way talents to match whatever it is that you would like to do. Now, you only get 4 conversions for free per season. I have not gone past that, so I don't know what the cost, quote unquote, would be. What I can tell you is that every time that you do one of these conversions, it puts it on a week cooldown. Both of the things that you converted. So if you do the conversion and you're like, oh, hey, I don't really like this playstyle anymore. I'd rather go back to my old one. You can, but you're going to have to wait a week before you can change your inner ways back over. And then it would still, if you did all 4 of them, then you would have to pay the cost, whatever that may be, or you could wait until the new season and then do it then. For that reason, especially for new players and mid-game players, I would recommend saving your conversions until right around the end of the current season, so that way you can just roll right into the next one. And effectively, you would get 8 free conversions as opposed to 4, and then waiting, 2 months and then getting another set of 4. It'll just kind of make things a little bit easier, and it'll make things a lot more forgiving, so that you'll have that buffer in the event that, like I had alluded to beforehand, you try it out and realize that, hey, I like my old play style better. You won't be sitting on your hands for a month waiting for the new season to come around, so you don't have to pay whatever the fine would be to do that conversion. You can just, okay, I made a mistake, and then just swap right back. So little, nugget of information for you. Now on to the part that I said the oscillating jade is incredibly important. Incredibly, 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 incredibly important. And that's down here under the gear tab where it says enhance. This is predatory if you are not aware of what you are doing. And this is what I mean by that. So as you can see, I am not max level on any of these yet. These you can't even work yet. But my armor and my weapon pieces, I am basically a nothing burger. The reason for that is you see over on the right where it says enhancement materials. You see that second one down. Don't worry about the top one. That's only for the end game stuff. If you are like literally anything below level 80, you won't even need that. It'll be something else, which is a lot easier to come across, so don't worry about it. What you do need to worry about is the 3rd through the 4th line item on there. Oscillating Jade, you'll notice that it's every single tap costs 50 right now, and that number is going to only go up. I currently only have 1,062, which means, and all of these are going to go to level 40. So I got, 250, 500, 750, 1,020. I got like more than what I currently have, right? And this is just to get the last literally 5 levels of my gear boosted up. Give you some perspective and why I say to hold on to your oscillating jade as much as you can and just stockpile it. That number isn't anywhere near that high for a lot of the lower levels. Most of the time it's between like 5 and 10 at most. Once you cross over the 71 threshold, that number starts to stack up a lot faster, and you'll bleed through, 7 or 8,000 oscillating jade just between 71 and 81. It's kind of crazy. So what I would recommend is like level 71 and 81, not equipment gear. 71 and 81 level wise is like 15 to where I am now, roughly. So it very, very quickly starts to stack up. So I would highly recommend just sitting on your oscillating jade until you get to at least level 56. Right now, honestly, if you're watching this video and the level cap is increased to anything above 100, I would probably either A, try and find a more recent video, in which case this information would have been updated in, or B, just straight up wait until you're at least level 65, probably level 71 at that point, before you think about dumping your oscillating jade. It'll bite you if you do it otherwise. So save yourself the pain. Aside from that, you'll notice that the 3rd line item down is a common piece of material that's not necessarily difficult. There are a whole bunch of ways that you can gather these materials, and everything, all the different like weapons and armors require different things. Like as you can see, my weapons here, they require raw ore, and then the armors They require coarse fur, both of which can be bought from your local general goods vendor. If you have life supplies support boxes from your daily logins, you could also use those. I would recommend stacking your life supply support boxes as much as you can, because I've heard tell that the late game upgrade materials are really, really, really hard to come across. And in some cases, the best ways to get those materials, well, they're hard to come across in the numbers that you need them. The best way to get those materials would be the life supplies box, especially seeing as how the vendors they run out of materials after that 99 and they don't reset for another week. So if you get that 99, you're like, but I need 120. The life supplies box are going to be your saving grace there. You could also farm the materials in the open world naturally. For the coarse fur, you can get it through hunting various things, which hunting isn't like it's not like in BDO, like where you have games like BDO where you have like a separate like a life skilling hunting system. That doesn't necessarily correlate here. You really just got to kill the thing and then it will drop whatever material it is that you need. Well, for these at least. These are pretty much a one for one. You kill it, you'll get the material. That's not the case for many other resource options within this game. So just kind of keep that in mind. Then last but not least, what is currently the bane of my existence and is a bit of a problem. It's a known problem. The devs have been made very much aware that this is a pain point for the community. What they'll do about it, time will tell. But the coin system in this game, as you can see, it says it right there, daily made coin. So there is a cap to how much currency of any type that you can make in this game, either daily or weekly, depending on what it is. In the case of coins, like the money that you use to buy stuff in game, not in the like from the in-game vendors, not from the like shops or whatever, not through like the draw stores or anything like that, or the season shop. They put a hard cap on it. You can only make 175,000 coin per day, which is kind of a bummer, especially when you get towards the end of your upgrading sessions. And as you can see, every individual click for every individual piece costs me about 22,000 right now. So with that 175,000 click, I would only be able to upgrade, let's see, let's just round it up to 25 for example's sake, and then I'll knock it off later. So 25, 50, 75, 100. I'd only be able to do, everything but one of my pieces. And that's just one tapping it. That's not even going all the way through. That's literally leveling all of my gear but one level. Each would cost me an entire day's worth of coin, and I wouldn't be able to spend that on anything else. It's a problem. It is. There's no other words for it. It's a problem. Um, yeah. So hopefully the devs at least increase the cap a little bit to make it not quite as predatory. This isn't necessarily a problem if you're under level 56, just because the cost of things doesn't necessarily correlate to that cap, so it would be like more fair, for lack of a better way of putting it. But anything 65 and up, sorry, man. The best advice that I can give you is just, stack your cash as much as you can and try and not spend it week or day to day, week to week. If you do got to spend it, try and spend as minimal as you can and just let small number become big number over time. And then, hopefully it won't be a problem for you. So that's the short version about sort of the gear progression system in this game. There is one last bit that I'm going to touch on here. Well, two last bits that I'm going to touch on here, and that would be the individual martial arts. So as the game continues, the first thing that I would recommend is, especially like levels 1 through let's say 35, Try and unlock all the different martial arts. You need to unlock the martial arts so that that way you could kind of get a feel for them and figure out what play style you like best. You can't know what your favorite flavor of ice cream is unless you've tried all of the available flavors. Does that make sense? So before you are like, oh my gosh, I love this and I'm not going to try anything else. Look, if you have your love at first sight moment with a class, I'm not going to get in your way. Do your thing, live your life. I would strongly recommend, though, especially if you're not used to this sort of a combat system or like the wuxia sort of weapon styles, sample all of it, especially while you're in the early levels when upgrading things is really cheap and it doesn't really cost much of anything. Um, yeah, it can only help you. It can only kind of like expand your own knowledge and subsequently give you a better overall experience. Because I'm telling you, once you get above, let's see, once you get like above level 40, it starts getting hard. As you'll see here, so I only need, you remember those tips that I was talking to you guys about earlier? How you can get them through the season shop? This is what you spend them on. In order to upgrade your stuff, you need those tips of that weapon type. So this is Inkwell fan. This is the ranged DPS fan. So I would need, and it goes off of Silkbind, Jade, which is different from the healing one. Um, so I would, need to get 4 of those just so that I can bump this up to 41, and then I'd probably need another 4 to 5 to hit 42, and then so on and so forth. You get the idea. And then these are the ones that are definitely a pain. You'll find these throughout the open world, and you'll find these as you kill things and um, complete quests and just kind of go through the game as normal. They change with each tier. So here we go. So bone renewal tunic. This is the healing umbrella, the other healing option or the other healing weapon that you have in this game besides the fan currently. And you'll notice that I have all of a sudden 4 to 8, right? And that's just going up one tier. So this is tier 2 to 3, this is tier 3 to 4. All of a sudden I need 4 more of those tips. And I'm going to need that same number every single level from tier 4 all the way through until the start of tier 5, when all of a sudden I'll need even more. Where's my fan? There it is, Panacea fan. So like you'll see, this is like going from tier 4 to tier 5, and now I need 12. That number just keeps on getting higher, man. So definitely would recommend checking out all of the options that you can for the various martial arts and the weapons that go with them while you're still under level 40, because 40 on things start to rapidly get much more expensive. So avoid yourself the pain and don't really try and commit, quote unquote, to any sort of gear path or weapon path until you've sampled everything. All right, now moving on to the Mystic skills. These are a little bit of a trap. They're not quite as evil as some of the other things that I've illustrated, especially that those tips, the martial arts tips and talents. Those can seriously set you back. This, not so much. This, you don't really necessarily need all of the shiny bells and whistles on these things. They do help quite a lot. Like you can see just this boost, right? Like I get a 0.01% increase in my physical attack, which equates to, what would that be? 8 more actual damage done by the skill. So it's not important, but I wouldn't necessarily make it your main focus. Uh, Once you cross the threshold and you're like, all right, I'm level, well, Juice, I'm level, 65. Should I start focusing on those? Brother, you should have been focused on those from about 55 on. Not focused on them, they're the only thing that you're throwing your resources at. Focus on them that you start contributing to them with consistent effort. That's going to be where you're going to be spending most of your time grinding. And it's also a little bit predatory. So you see those resources at the bottom there? Uh, the hold on, let me pull it up. The ebon ores. So these ebon ores you're gonna get by clearing various things in the game. Mostly outposts. You can get them from clearing some bosses and doing some guild events, and some from login rewards. But the bulk of them are going to come from clearing outposts. Outposts are to this game what dungeons are to most other MMOs. So an outpost is these things, the Tiger Forts, and like for this one, for example, it's going to cost me 20 energy at base to be able to run these, right? And the energy system is another thing that I'll get on here in just a second. Short version, just for context, you need energy to do almost everything in this game that's not PvP or um, social content. But literally, all PvE stuff, whether it be world bosses, whether it be reruns of main story quest bosses, whether it be, challenges and trials, whether it be whatever, anything, it's all going to cost you energy. If you want to run a guild raid or a raid with your friends in general, that's going to cost you, you know, 60 energy per. If you want to run a arena thing, which is the PvP, it's not going to cost you any energy, as you can see. So, yeah, I'll touch on that more in a second. I don't want to get too lost in the weeds there. Suffice to say, those ebon ores are really, really hard to come by, especially when you start running out of energy and you start running out of the materials that you need to recharge your energy, which is weakly gated. Um, they start disappearing pretty quick. So I would personally recommend stacking up on your ebon ores during the early levels, and then don't think about investing in these things until probably, like I've said for many other things in this guide, probably like level 56, 61-ish is when you're going to want to start really looking into those. And by then you should have a stockpile of several hundred. So you should be able to, at the very least, get some of your basic skills and your basic, the things that you use the most often, whether it be PvE or PvP, upgraded. So that would be a great, probably one of the best pieces of advice that I've left to you guys in this guide so far, is for sure just stack that ebon iron ore. Don't spend any of it if you can get away with it until you're at least level 56, preferably level 61 to 65. And then after that, go crazy. By then you should have a general idea of what it is that you're doing. If you don't, please feel free to reach out and ask either an officer or just anybody in guild. Most of us, actually all of us, would be more than happy to help you out. Okay. Talents, you don't really got to worry about this so much. You'll kind of accumulate this stuff as time goes on. This is all just, stuff that you unlock naturally as you play the game. And there's no real like meta applicability to this. Sorry guys, I need to get some water. There's no real like meta applicability to this. Yeah, it gives you like a handful of percentage points more in some resistances and like a little bit more damage and like crit rate and accuracy and stuff like that. I'd like to give you an example. If it'll let me. Here we go. So like there are some that are pretty useful, like this one for example. Um, You can survive fatal damage once, and you recover 20% HP and gain 3 seconds of invulnerability on a 2-minute cooldown, but it only works in solo mode. So if you're out grinding mobs and you bite off a bit more than you can chew, it's really nice to have this because it kind of gives you a little bit of a cushion in the failsafe, especially if you're not a healer and you're just kind of surviving off of the parry system, the dodge system, and potions, right? This is nice to have in your back pocket. You will unlock this as time goes on. You should have this by probably level 45-ish. You should have it unlocked enough talent points to be able to get to this one. And then, as you can see, it just continues to go on. And yeah, I don't even have the newer stuff yet. I'm working on that myself right now. But yeah, so these are definitely things that you would want to invest the time to get. In the way that you unlock talent points, it's super easy. You can either complete the main story, side story, or just general world explanation. You can also earn enlightened points that contribute to the unlocking of talent points by just exploring the open world, opening chests, um, you know, gathering sometimes some of the gathering materials in this game. They do give you enlightenment points for collecting them. They're few and far between though, so I wouldn't bank on that. Your main source of these is going to be completing the main story and side story stuff. There is also a lot of, let's call them pop-up events that happen in the game, just kind of like in your general proximity, and the game will auto spawn these to kind of keep engagement going so that you're not running out of stuff to do. They are called, there they are. They're called exploration quests. So as you can see, I have a couple of them here. And then once you start them, they're locked in. There are some of them that are time locked, and they'll tell you when they are, hey, you have X number of time or whatever to finish this. Um, for the most part, though, they're not going to have that. So this is going to be the main source of those talent points that you're going to need. Well, that you're going to want so that you can upgrade your character and kind of make yourself just a little bit more useful no matter what playstyle you play as. Highly recommended. Now, on to some of the, let's call it, more predatory than normal because they don't really warn you about this stuff. The sect system. Oh, lordy, lordy, lord, the sect system. Okay, so the sect system in this game operates a lot like conceptually how guilds, not player guilds, guilds like in Skyrim and Elder Scrolls series guilds, like the Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, Thieves Guild, stuff like that. It operates a lot how they operated, but it's a little bit more immersive. And this is what I mean by that. So this is a list of all of the sects that are currently in the game. Well, that the game is going to have that we're aware of right now. We don't have access to all of them yet. I don't think China does either. But the ones that we do have access to have proven that they are much more immersive than any other sort of, let's call it the faction system, that in any other game that I personally have ever played ever. So to start things off, Midnight Blade is the one that I currently am in. This is your Assassin's Guild. These are your PvP Andes. These are the people who, they just basically want to go around and grief people all day long. Yes, I am toxic. I am aware. It's fun. I'm sorry. Um, the reason that I personally really enjoy this guild is because I like the challenge, and like I play on this thing called Legendary Mode, which is basically like, uh, uh, you know, stepping into obscene amounts of pain. You basically put the game on an Elden Ring setting, for lack of a better way of putting it. It becomes Dark Souls. The simplest, easy level one mob can kill you in a handful of hits if you're not careful. Um, so because of that, I typically like the challenge. And in Midnight Blades, they have a For some people, it can be very immersion breaking, which is why I'm putting this in here. It's part of the reason why I'm doing this whole section, because I found this out the hard way. So the officer thing for Midnight Blades is called the Sufferer. Let me show you. So I just rejoined, which is why it says Novice Cultivator. I was in another one, Well of Heaven, that I'll touch on in a second because of the story that I'm about to tell you. So in Midnight Blades, getting the Truthwalker is really, really, really easy. You have to kill an NPC that's part of a quest, and bammo whammo. You do like 3 other things after that, and then boom, like you're immediately a Truthwalker. Now, if you want to get the officership position, which is called Elder or Sufferer, you gotta kill somebody who's already an Elder or a Sufferer, and those are players. And you can only find them in the online mode. And if you are a Midnight Blades officer in the online mode, it's called Sufferer, you can get jumped at any point in time, even mid minigame, and it will not stop to wait for you to exit the minigame. They will just gank you and take your officership position, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. You could also lose your officership position if you fail to log in for 3 days straight. However, from my experience, that is nowhere near as immersion breaking as being mid wrestling match and you're in a sumo costume where you don't even have access to your stuff, and it's like a 7-second window between when you get, flagged on basically and the beating starts, because you don't got to accept it. It's a default acceptance. It's automatic. So you don't get the option to say no. And you don't get the option to, oh, wait until I'm out of this mini game. Nope, they will start beating you in the sumo suit. Um, and you have to wait, 5 to 7 seconds, depending on what kind of a system you're running, to even exit the mini game situation so that you could then start fighting back. Suffice to say, it's a little busted, and I personally think that the devs, I get the idea that they were going for with this, but I think that letting players jump other players mid minigame only disincentivizes them from playing online at all. Because the whole reason to play the online section of this game, like the online mode of this game, is it's basically a lobby. Like, you go in there, you do social events, you can do cultivation stuff. If you're an RPer, you can RP. It's not necessarily the place that you go to grind or to experience much of the game content. If you want to grind with people, they have an option for that. It's co-op mode, and it's, in my opinion, probably the best way to go about it. But if you're in Midnight Blade and if you want to play an online mode at all, if you're an officer, you're kind of setting yourself up to get jumped. So I personally hope that they change that a little bit. It would be great if they were to at least add like a, hey, you've been flagged. Here's 15 seconds to get out of whatever it is that you were doing so you can get ready. I think that that would definitely push the game in a positive direction for members of the Midnight Blade sect, because it is super immersion breaking. Super immersion breaking. So that's the Midnight Blade. That is one of 2 very, let's call it toxic setups that are currently in place in the sex right now. I'm going to touch on the second one here in a second. That I guarantee you, if you play this game for any length of time, like longer than a couple of days, chances are you are going to join these guys not of your own free will. And that would be the 9 mortal ways. The 9 mortal ways are your scammers. And I mean that literally. They are kind of the equivalent of the Thieves Guild in this game, but with a little bit of extra spice in the sense that, well, for example, one of the things that a Nine Mortal Ways member can do, and all these guys are IRL players, like they're real people. They're not NPCs or bots. Um, they can put out like you guys know in other MMOs where you have like people will like shout quote unquote stuff or they'll say stuff to the server or what have you. Well, in this game those are called red envelopes. Red envelopes are kind of like megaphones in other games. Well, Nine Mortal Ways has their own red envelope that anybody who clicks on it gets robbed a couple hundred gold. Yeah, it's annoying. I mean, I get it. A lot of people find it fun, and I've been got myself a couple of times. It is kind of like, haha, okay, whatever. Um, but be careful because on top of that overt, do not redeem scam thing that they got going on, uh, they kind of pretend to be every other sect. And as you're going through the game, like you'll try and be like, oh, I want to join Velvet Shade, which is basically TMZ in this game. Um, they're like tabloid people. Or I want to join Silver Needle, which is like the healers of the game. Or I want to join Well of Heaven, who are basically Robin Hood. Um, you'll try and track down the different ways to join those sects, and you'll think, and this is the part that's like evil in my opinion, you'll think that you've made it into that sect, and then all of a sudden you won't be in that sect, as you can see right here. Will of Heaven, Sacked Master, Lone Cloud, Sacked Master. Yeah, it's rough. So you'll go through the entire recruitment thing for whatever sect it is that you would like to join, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're not talking to the correct person because it says sacked instead of sect, and they have like little tiny, if you're not really paying attention you'll just blow right past it, details, and then all of a sudden you'll find yourself in the Nine Mortal Ways, and it can be annoying. So something to be aware of if you want to impose that chaos on others. This is going to be your home. These are very much your people, your fellow Toxicas. Um, I like to rag on Nine Mortal Ways. They really are a really fun bunch. I was among them for a while. Um, very, very, very like, hey, pull my finger kind of a group. But they can be a riot. They can be a great time too. So if you like that sort of stuff, that's going to be your home. Next up is the Silver Needles, as I had said beforehand a few minutes ago. Getting some water here, one second, guys. Sorry about that. Silver Needle are your golden retriever people in this game. Well, that's not true. They're your Instagram models in this game. They want all of the attention. They will heal you of whatever it is that you've been inflicted with in this game. Side note, injuries are very much a thing in this game, very much in games like Fallout or certain survival games like Days or stuff like that. You can get sick, and you can get hurt, like broken bones, concussions, stuff like that. Those injuries will get worse if they're not treated, and eventually they'll basically cripple your character until you get healed. There is an in-game healing option. There's a little healer set that you can pay a certain fee and get most things fixed. But past a certain threshold, you're not going to be able to use those services to get yourself fixed up. So you're going to need to turn to a Silver Needles member in order to do that. These are all, keep in mind, every single sect in this game is 100% player run. There is not a single NPC aside from the recruiters and, people at the bases who are obviously bots or, merchants. But aside from that, this is entirely player run. So when you recruit somebody, you won't be getting a bot, you'll be getting an actual player. And they take payment in the form of likes, which is why I refer to them as Instagram models. And if you don't give them their 5 likes for their services as payment, they can be some of the pettiest people. Like I've had conversations with some of them that they create actual lists of people who don't give them their likes, and then they basically blacklist that player across all Silver Needle sect members. Yeah, that's a thing. Like I said, petty. Um, and after a certain point, if you don't have access to these people, you basically can't play the game because your character becomes so broken that no healer in the game that's not a Silver Needles member can heal them. And if you forgot to give that one healer their 5 likes one time, they can very much like there's a thing that I heard way back in the day. I'm kind of an animal nut. Um, there's a thing that I heard way back in the day about crows and how they can pass off generational hatred. Like the grandparent crow will tell its grandchild crow about some, shithead teenager who threw a rock at it 20 years ago, and the grandparent and the grandchild crow will like basically get a genetic memory of the person who threw the rock, and if they see that person within their lifetime, they'll shit on them or like do something to bug them or what have you. That's very much the thing with Silver Needle as well. If you don't give them their likes, they will pass off their hatred of you to every other person in the sect, and you'll get blacklisted, and it's super toxic. So watch out for these guys. Make sure that you pay them what they're due. Um, yeah, kind of sorry about that mic bump. Kind of enough said there. Moving on. Well of Heaven. This is the group that I was in most recently. I switched to Midnight Blades for resources, basically. Didn't want to go around and grind some stuff, and I had some extra cash lying around, and they sell it in their sex shop, so I just went there. Well of Heaven is basically Robin Hood. So these are like the bromance sect. Um, in game, these are probably the most helpful people that you'll find. These are the guys that will. So they actually advance in rank through the sect by helping people in game. And by people, I mean other players. So these are some of the rules for them. Every week, you have to perform a certain number of what's called chivalrous deeds, basically helping other players complete content. Excuse me, whether that be mini games or running strongholds or running bosses or this, that, or the other. If it involves helping another player complete content, regardless of what it is, Well of Heaven are your guys. In game, they are some of the nicest people that I have yet met, if I'm being completely honest. Super, super helpful, super, super reliable, and it's a genuineness. Like it's not like I'm doing this just because we're playing a game and blah 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 blah. It very much seems to attract people that, for lack of a better way of putting it, this is a cross section between like a fraternity, like a college fraternity, but a college fraternity that donates their time on the weekend to feed the homeless. You know, like yeah, it's a good old boys club. They're very much the testosterone driven thing, but at the same time, they will go out of their way to help you, and for more than just clout. Um, they actually have a so like with the coin thing, right? how I was saying earlier on in the guide that you can only make a certain number of daily coin per day. It's like 175,000. That number is, you haven't even, you have like another cap just by being a member of the Well of Heaven, because they don't want you to make too much money. It's their second rule, valor above gold. Weekly earnings should not be excessive, otherwise you lose 100 precept value, which is it's kind of like their way of ranking you. So it's, yeah, it's like, if you're an officer, you can basically get kicked down to a rookie by having too much money. Yeah, it's so like if you make that 175,000 a day, and you do that 2 or 3 days in a row, expect to get dinged by these guys. So if you are focusing on like just stacking cash and trying to, be the rich person in this game, Well of Heaven probably isn't for you. If you are somebody who would kind of like to kind of be like a all-in-one go-to person for your friends in this game, or for just people in general in this game, and if you want to acquire a lot of game knowledge and how to like work the different systems and what the different mechs are for certain bosses and stuff like that, and subsequently pass that information on, this is definitely going to be your home. You're going to love it here. Honestly, great guys. Unfortunately, Raging Tides, Lone Cloud, Mohist Hill, and Hollow Vale are not currently in game yet, so I don't really have a whole lot of information regarding those that I can give to you guys. Masked Troop, it says that it's here. It's not really here yet. It's supposed to drop on the 17th, which is in 4 days from now. Um, so they just kind of like have the bones of it up so that people could see, but like there's currently nobody that's, there right now. So I don't really have any information to give you about them. And I've already gone over Velvet Shade. These are basically your, how do I put this politically correctly? Hugh Hefner would have gotten along great in here. Yeah, yeah, pretty much enough said there. If you know, you know. If you don't, no, I'm not going to tell you that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it as far as the sex go. Okay, so let's see. What else do I have to go over? I think that might be about it for today. Yeah, so this has really just kind of been a general. Oh, that's right. There was one other thing that I wanted to go over, the professions. So one last thing to touch on, just as sort of like a generalistic guide, we're gonna get into more nitty gritty about like boss mechs and how to source different items to help increase your damage and this, that, and the other in future guides. This is really just designed to be a basic, bare bones. Let's get these people some basic information about the game so that they can avoid some of the pitfalls that some of us more experienced people fell into. And this is going to be my last little tidbit of advice for you guys as far as this guide goes. So this game offers something called a profession system, which has a direct correlation to some of the items that you could use in game. And what I mean by that is for things like healing potions, they scale with level, and the items change with that difference in scaling of level. And this is what I mean by that. So when I go into my healer section and I go all the way over to medicine, you'll see that I currently have all of these medicines unlocked. If you look at underneath the usage requirements, you'll see that each of these has a level associated with it. So this is 81, 61, 41, 20, and then 1. So this is the one that you're going to start with. What they don't tell you is that these also have profession level gates. So you have to be a certain profession level in order to make the potion for that level. So if you are level 60, let's say, and or let's say that you're level 65, so you should be using these because this is where your health is going to be. This is going to be the one that you're going to want to use for basically all content in the game. But you don't have the profession level, so you're stuck back here, for example. So you're not here, or God forbid, back here. It's You're probably not going to have a very good time because you're going to be blowing through these things like crazy. You're going to find yourself dying left, right, and center, and it's going to hurt your experience considerably. What I recommend doing, and I recommend doing this basically as soon as you start collecting jade fish, is as you collect your jade fish, your weekly jade fish, go over to the season shop, go over to profession development, and buy these things called career notebooks. As you can see, every week you get 500 of them. That 500 alone should get you through from 1 to 20 just in 1 week. So you should be able to go from the hemostatic powder, that level 1 potion, straight to the wounded balm, or at least be able to make it within that first 1 week. After that, weeks 2 on, it's going to take you about 2 weeks to get to each next tier of potion on average. That's not a 1-for-1. I've known people who have done it in less time, but a good solid measuring stick is about 2 weeks in between each tier of potion. And I know for sure that that is true between 61 and 81 because I just did it over the course of the last few weeks. And I doubt that that'll change, if I'm being completely honest. Now, if they increase the Jadefish cap and you start being able to, or they increase the weekly stock amount and you start being able to get 1,000 of these a week, then, I might need to update this guide at that point in time and, give you guys a little bit more up-to-date information and how to kind of go about it then. However, for now, as of the 13th of February in 2026, the 2 week from 41 on is very much the standard rate. So if you feel like you're behind, you're not. Now, that's pretty much all that I got for you guys today. There are a couple of other things in this game that I would like to touch on as time goes on. But, this guide's already going to be a little bit over an hour, so I feel like that should be enough to give people at least the basics. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Thank you so much for joining this guild and for all the support and time that you spent with us. We greatly appreciate that you guys are here, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right.